three shorter guards. Would you expect the norm to be two of those guys on the floor at the same time, or one?
You know, Tom, I don't know what the norm's going to be yet, but I'd say in a perfect world, we need more ball handling, we need more playmaking. You know, last year our assist-to-turnover ratio wasn't what we hoped. We didn't handle pressure as well as we hoped. Probably didn't feed the post as well as we hoped, and so, you know, getting your better ball handlers and passers out there, you would think would help you do so. But, you know, I can see a scenario where Wayne plays point with two big wings, and I can see a scenario where Frank and Devontae or Frank and Connor or whoever it is in the game at the same time. I don't see many scenarios where all three will be in the game together, but I think we can definitely play small. Frank's tough enough. He allows us to play small because I think he can guard a bigger guard.
You like having that versatility?
Yeah, I think so. You know, last year we were probably more versatile than what I thought we were or allowed us to be, because we were pretty locked in that we were going to play Wiggs at the 3 and Wayne at the 2, or vice versa. And when we did that, we really took away some playmaking and some perimeter ball handling and passing. I think not that Wayne's not a good passer, but he's probably not, you know, the playmaker last year that Frank could be this year. I see us being small a lot. Whether that's, but when I say being small, I can see us playing Wayne at the 4, Kelly Oubre at the 4, Brandon Green at the 4, to make us, even though standing height will be about the same, but to make us a much more perimeter-oriented team.
Hunter Mickelson is the one guy with a history of blocking shots. What are the challenges for him to get on the court and fit in with everybody else?
Well, Hunter's you know, he's a prototypical 4-man. He's a face-up guy. So I think the challenge is for him is to play bigger than what he is or what he has been, because, you know, I could be wrong, but I can't see anybody beating Perry out. So what's best for the team if Perry's on the court would be to have somebody that can keep him from having to defend the 5, somebody that can keep him from having to be the primary rebounder all the time, somebody that can keep him from having to play on the post because another guy can get angles and get easy baskets. So the reality is Hunter, with his skill set, will probably have to do some more things in order to see playing time, just because of what our needs are based on our other personnel. But you're right, he's our best shot blocker. Cliff's going to be a good one, but Hunter's a guy that, people don't realize this, Hunter blocked more shots than Joe did his last year at Arkansas than Joe did last year in less minutes. So, I mean, he's naturally a pretty good shot blocker.
Coach, what do you need to see from Perry in terms of his leadership, being such a quiet guy? You want to see some maturation in those areas?
I'd like for him to be a little bit more vocal, but I don't think we're going to change Perry on who he is, and we don't want to try to make him. I like who he is, and I think in the past I've done a poor job with some of the guys, getting them outside their comfort zone so much that they forgot about playing. I think I did that with Frank last year, wanting to be a true point guard and be a leader and understand and this and that, and I think I took away some aggressiveness because he was always thinking. With Perry, he's never going to be your vocal leader. I mean, he's not going to be. And leaders by example, you know, as we learned with the Marines the other day, I'm not sure that's a fair term, because leaders by example basically mean they work hard, they're on time, they're responsible, and that kind of stuff, meaning they just do their job. I mean, that's what a leader by example just does his job, and I don't think you should get bonus points for doing your job. But I do think that they can, you know, can be recognized in a way that definitely give our team the best chance to be good. And Perry's one of those guys that if he can just add a little bit of the leadership things vocally or whatever to his repertoire, then I think it'll make our team a lot better. But I'm not looking to have Perry be the vocal guy at game point, but he's telling everybody what to do. I want Perry to go score. And if that's who he is, he's a scorer. So let's let him be who he is and just improve in those other areas a little bit.
How has Brandon improved, and what do you expect of him this season?
Brandon's really improved. Of course, last year he was one of our most talented guys and didn't play much. And this year he's in a dogfight for playing time, because that's a loaded house, crowded house back there with Wayne and with Kelly and with Spee and with Brandon. That's 4 really good, tall perimeter players. And so, you know, Brandon's going to have to do some more things on the defensive end and learn how to make others better. But But you know, Brandon Green is a very talented guy. I mean, he's arguably as good a shooter as we have. He's, you know, run all day. He can do a lot of different things athletically. He's gotten stronger, but he's still got to buy into Garden on the other end.
Coach, how has Speedy maybe handled this transition here?
So far, great. You know, he doesn't speak the language as well as he understands it. You know, Joe understood it perfectly, but he always acted like he didn't. He was a master of that. Speed isn't as bright as Joe in that regard as far as being a con. Joe was great at it. You know, when things are going good, Joe understood every word. When things were going bad, oh, coach, I don't understand. But Speed didn't like that. I think Speed gets it. He understands, but he's a really talented guy. You'll see how impressive he is athletically and skill set and all those things. The only knock on him right now is young. You know, he should be a high school junior or senior as opposed to a college freshman. But he's going to be really good.
As young as he is that a factor in how much he'll play?
Could be. Everybody says strength. I'm not sure it's strength as much. I like his body. I think he'll get stronger and stuff. But I still think, you know, he can. You know, a guy can knock him off his line pretty easy, and being physical with him and stuff like that. He's going to have to learn how to become more physical. But one thing about him, we haven't been in a practice situation yet, but when you stop and think about who's played against the best competition, he may have. And who's played against the strongest men, he may have. And so we talk about the things that he may be a little bit lacking with because of his age. Well, he's the only one out there played against 28 and 30-year-olds consistently. So it may not be as much of a factor as what we might think.
Alexander's more physically developed than most guys that age, and comes from a physical league. Is he a real physical player?
I think Cliff can be a physical player. I'm not sure that he knows how yet, because his idea of being physical would be getting 3 fouls in the first 5 minutes. So he's going to have to learn how to guard and move his feet and pick his spots, that kind of stuff. But I see some similarities with Cliff and Thomas. You know, that kind of stuff. Cliff is probably a little bigger at the same stage, about the same athletically, offensively about the same. There's a lot of similarities in them. Cliff's got to get where he goes after every ball, and he did that in high school, so hopefully that'll translate to college. But I think he without question, if he were to play his best and everybody else would play their best, I think that he would be our most physical player, though.
What do you see in Devontae, and does there have to be some kind of natural progression for him? He's so young.
Yeah, I think there needs to be, but I'll be honest with you. You know, without seeing him really go up and down a lot, that kind of stuff, he's going to be a hard guy to keep out of the lineup. You know, he's a little bit older. He's a great leader. He's probably as popular as any student is on campus. I mean, everybody knows him. Everybody likes him. He's got potential to be a great leader. He's really a good basketball player. So, I mean, he'll definitely fight for starting minutes. There's no question about that, and I mean from day one.
How much do those qualities help you as a point guard?
Well, I think they're invaluable, you know, without throwing anybody under the bus last year, because last year's team was totally different, and last year's team was long, and we had explosive athletes on the wing and this and that, and there's a lot of things that we could, and Nadir was a good shooter from a point guard position. You know, to me, Devontae is, you know, it reminds me of Aaron Miles. You know, just a guy that will do whatever it takes to give the team the best chance and be a good leader in all areas, and you know, he can make a shot too. So I think that his intangibles will probably allow him to play more early on, because if you look at our team, that's what our team needs as much as anything else, are those intangibles.
Were you impressed that the Marines named him the best teammate?
Named him the best leader. Yeah, a leader / teammate. They had the best, but no, not really. There were 3 guys that came down to us. It was Kelly and Wayne and Devontae, and those guys picked Devontae, which I think was pretty good for a freshman. But you know, Kelly Oubre is going to be a good leader too. I mean, those 3 are probably our most 3 natural leaders, I would think.
Do you think this will be a better defensive team than last year?
I hope so. Yeah, because we stunk last year defensively. We didn't put pressure on the ball. We never cut the head off. Teams got comfortable. When I say we stunk, we were probably still the best or second best defensive team in our league, but that's not who we've been for years, and we've been better than that. And so, you know, we don't have a shot blocker behind us. If it weren't for Joe last year, there's no telling how bad we looked at times defensively because, you know, people got the ball where they wanted to get it, and he covered up mistakes. This year we don't have a guy to cover mistakes like that. That's 7 foot tall, but I do think we're going to be able to pressure the ball and deny one pass away. And I think you're going to see a pretty good defensive team.
How are the new locker rooms, and do you expect them to help with recruitment at all?
The new locker room, it's awesome. Matter of fact, no, Chris won't give everybody a tour, but still though, it's they're really, really good. I mean, we had nice locker room before, but what's been done here recently is tremendous. And Chris, I'm trying to think, what was the name of the company? But you guys remember? Somebody wrote an article, I know.
Yes.
What is it?
Dimensional innovation.
Yeah, Dimensional Innovations. They did a great job coming in, and they took our ideas and incorporated their own, and, you know, kept the history intact and still get some modern amenities. You know, hopefully it'll help recruiting, you know. So we got a lot of stuff going on now, though, with the DeBruce Center and with the McCarthy Hall, and late nights coming up, and then you have the 60th year anniversary, which to me will be arguably as cool a non-basketball event that the building's had. You know, bringing back Roy and Larry and Ted and players from each era, and I think that will be something that every fan that's a true fan would want to be a part of that. So there's a lot of neat things going on right now.
When you have the locker room, do you decide who sits where or how much thought goes into that? And
No. I don't have as much say-so and stuff like that. I used to be a micromanager when I was young, and I spend more time worrying about stuff that had absolutely nothing to do with what we won or lost. And I think coaches do that when they're young. When they get a little bit more experience, they realize, does it really matter if a guy sits to your left or to your right? Or you know, things like that. So the players pick that stuff out, you know. But if somebody's being a jerk and that particular day they were forced to not be a part of an activity, and then I let everybody else pick, and they just take what's left, and that's happened before because we've had a couple of really key players have the worst seating locations possible, in large part just because that particular day maybe they had some outside assignments they were doing. So.
Talk about pressuring defensively. Who are some guys you're looking forward to seeing get out and guard people like that?
Frank didn't guard last year like he can. Devontae can really pressure. Kelly Oubre is so long, he can get out. And you'll be surprised. Speed maybe slides his feet as well as anybody we have. He's a terrific, quick athlete. Mike Fratello called me after he had him with the Ukrainian national team. He said, Bill, this may seem kind of weird, but he'd be great in a full court pressing defense because he anticipates so well and he's so quick and athletic. And of course, Jamari showed glimpses last year being able to do some things in transition defense or pressing that nobody else could do. So I think that we could put a pretty good defensive team out there.
Pressing an option then?
Pressure's an option, but pressing could be too. I mean, I'm not a big press guy, as you guys know, because I think you can win games when you have superior talent a lot of times against teams. But Coach Sutton always taught me, or told me, he said, so we can beat a team 70-59, and somebody else can beat them 105-70. So who's better? And the answer is, who knows? You play a style that gives you the best chance to win in the postseason, because that's when you'll be playing against good guards. And a lot of times good guards love it when teams press. So you know, I don't want to be a pressing team against certain teams and a non-pressing team against the really good teams. I want to develop an identity. This is who we are, and it'll work against whoever we're playing against. And that doesn't mean you can't press some. And certainly I would anticipate us doing so, but I don't think it'll be a staple of everything that we do defensively.
Coach, what do you expect Landon's role to be?
Landon?
Yes.
Landon may have had the best spring and summer of anybody. He's had a good fall too. He's gonna play. He's fighting for major minutes. He and Cliff are probably right now, based on what I've seen, going head to head for a lot of major minutes. So.
Hey, Bill, Connor was an incredible shooter in high school, we know that, and some of that struggle is making the transition to this level and maybe not being so strong against stronger guys, but was there anything else to it? I mean, there's still open shots and they weren't going down.
I think this, in high school, every high school kid that's a good player is basically a volume shooter. I mean, you can shoot 30 times and make 15 or 13 or 17 or whatever. When you get to college, or it's the same thing if you're an unbelievable player in college and you get to the next level, you go from being a volume shooter, now, okay, I'm going to get 3 looks or 2 looks and I got to make 1. And with the minutes that he played, the minimum minutes that he played last year, it probably wasn't fair to him to put a great shooter out there knowing that every time it left, everybody hoped it went in, and his whole play was based on whether he made a shot or not, rather than based on if he was actually playing the game. And so I think he's a better player. I think he's a terrific shooter. I do think strength has been a factor with him some, and bigger guards and things like that, getting it off. But I think that he can help the team in many ways other than just shooting the ball. And I tell him this all the time: is that what you want to be known as a shooter, or do you want to be known as a player? And hopefully, if he gets enough minutes this year, he'll feel more comfortable shooting the ball. But that's a lot of pressure. Hey, get in the game. If you make a shot, you stay. If you don't make a shot, you come out. And that's kind of although that was never said to him, that was kind of the unknown. I mean, that message or the silent message that he received from us, because that's basically, honestly, how it kind of played out. And we need to give him more of an opportunity to get more minutes, so therefore he'll become a better shooter because he'll be more comfortable, less pressure.
What has Connor been working on this offseason? What have you been really stressing with him?
Well, he's got to get stronger. He's got to. And the thing about it is, as good a shooter as he is, he's not good enough. And as strong as Wayne is, he's not strong enough. Everybody's got something they can get better at. But the way that he could really help the team as much as possible is obviously with his strength and with his shooting ability. So I think that those are the things that to me are still the key to him becoming a great college basketball player.
And Bill, you talked about Perry being who he is and Frank being who he is. Is that something you learned last year after Andrew, maybe trying to have him be one guy and then he was just kind of himself? Is that something?
No, I don't think so. I think I learned something through the program we just had too.
Okay.
We had a lot of counseling sessions with those Marines and how their platoon leaders and things like that handled each of their prospects and that kind of stuff. And the whole thing is we got some guys that are really good at what they do. We don't want to take away from that by making them think to be something that they're not comfortable being. But on the flip side, they need to get out of their comfort zone some, but probably not to the point that I wanted Frank to be out of his last year. So, I don't think it was much of a factor with Perry, but with Frank, I do. Everybody, is Perry going to be the leader because he's obviously the most experienced guy? Well, yeah, he's a leader, but he's not going to be the vocal guy. He's not going to be a guy that people turn to and say, "What do we do?" Not going to be like that kind of guy, but he can certainly be a guy that takes more of a role with that. But we really need Wayne and Devontae, to be candid with you, to step up and be a lot more of that. So, and Jamari's good at it too.
Do you think Wayne can, or what do you look for in shooting?
Well, last year he was great at times, and last year he was obviously very streaky at times. So I would love for him to become more consistent. That would be the thing. He didn't have to shoot 40% from 3, but if he could get that above 35, I think that would do wonders to help our team.
You mentioned Kelly too. What are your expectations for him?
He's probably the guy that it's harder for me to make a true evaluation on right now, because the guy is really good. He's good enough. He's not going to be at Kansas for a long time. But we got to be able to plug him in to take advantage of what he does. He can score the ball, but he's so good around the rim. He's so good defensive getting out and passing lanes. He's such a good offensive rebounder. There's a lot of things that he can do well that's not your typical 2 or 3 guard type things. And so we got to find a way to post him and do some stuff like that that's a little bit different than what we've been doing. But he's a talented player.
Coach, have you thought about a starting 5 at this point possibly? I know it's only October, but.
Yeah, I guess you could say you always think about it, but now whether or not I'll tell you, that's a different story. But I've thought about some things. What I think would be best for our team, but what I think will be best for our team won't be who we start the season, because guys got to earn it and they got to get comfortable and stuff like that. But by conference play, I think in my mind I have a team in mind that I think would I'd like to see kind of become that. But a lot depends on how quick the young kids pick stuff up, though.
Top to bottom, how would you assess the talent of this team compared to your other team?
I will say that it's it reminds me a little bit of the 08 team. You know, the 08 team, our best player was Brandon Rush. You know, obviously he went in the lottery. Mario was a 2nd round pick. Shady was a 27th pick. Sharon was undrafted. Cole ended up going 12 or 13, I guess. Sasha went like 39. Darnell went like 42 or whatever it was. But this is a team like that in that there's not a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd pick right now. I mean, I'm not saying somebody could become that eventually, but right now there's not. I wouldn't think, but God, we got a whole bunch of good players, and I'm excited about it because we do have good basketball players. We've got depth. We don't have much size, but we are pretty deep and pretty skilled at most of the positions. And so, you know, whether or not that translates to better teams, because a lot of teams would give me 2 studs and 3 average guys, and we'll go play anybody. And I'm not sure we're quite like that. I think we got a whole bunch of really good players. A lot of balance.
Good not to have all the hoopla you had last year with Wiggins. I mean, I know he handled it well.
Yeah, he was great. He was great in how he handled it. But I would, you know, we don't have anybody like Wiggs or Joe, but we got guys that may end up being as good a college players as those guys. You know, when you talk about Wiggs and Joe, what everybody talked about was their upside, more so than what they actually did in the college game because they weren't there long enough. I mean, Joe only played like 25 games. But I think we have more players that can impact a college game than what we had last year, and which to me is exciting. Now, do we have anybody get 41 at West Virginia? I don't know about that, but I think we got some guys that can all capable of going out and getting 15 to 25 in a college game this year.
Do you ever go into the season with guys in mind of possible sitting out the year?
With red shirts? Yeah, I thought about it. I don't know who would be a candidate this year, though. You know, Landon's not a candidate, obviously. Hunter's not a candidate, obviously. Jamar's not a candidate, obviously, because they've already set out years. So I don't know who else would be a candidate right now. So right now, I'm not thinking. That's one question you guys can remove from your list, because I don't think red shirting will be a possibility with anybody.
How big is late night for recruiting and this year compared to others?
Well, you know, late night's always big. You know, it's we've I can't talk about specific recruits and everything, but you know, it's not only big from a recruiting standpoint, it's big from our player standpoint. A lot of our players that we sign come to late night, and then that's something they always look forward to, would be being a part of this. And so we look forward to it, and hopefully our fans will continue to support it. I know last year we had a few issues on getting people in, and those issues have been resolved. So you know, anybody that wants to come, they can get in. They just need to make sure they get here. You know, in the time slot in which you know, before the fire marshal or whatever closes the door. And we hope that's the case. We hope that's a problem. But you know, we haven't really had a problem. We've only been 2 years we had an issue. My first year here, we had to turn some people away, and last year we had to turn some people away. Every other year, everybody's gotten in the building, so I certainly hope that didn't deter anybody from coming.
Coach, in a program with such high expectations that basically center on the tournament, Does last year's disappointment have any influence on what happens this year? Do you want your expect your players to use that as motivation, or just let it go?
We may talk about it, but, you know, I'm not going to defend last year's exit, but, I mean, that wasn't our team out there playing last year either. I mean, that team that was out there at the end last year was not a 2 seed. We didn't have Joe. Joe was the best big man in the country. And you take the best big man in the country off of any team, your team's not going to be as good. And we played a team in which we didn't play well. They played better than us. They were bigger. Their size bothered us, stuff like that. So I'm not sure I think it can be motivation that, hey, we don't want to allow that to happen again. But sometimes in sports, stuff just happens. Some things you just can't control. And could we have won that game easily? Absolutely. And could we have advanced and possibly played Florida in the Elite Eight game or whatever it be? Absolutely. I mean, we were in the game and we were good enough to do that, but we didn't have near as much margin for error last year as what a lot of people thought. So I thought, to be candid with you, up until Joe got hurt, I thought that team did a great job. I thought we won a lot of games with a bunch of young kids, and they kind of figured it out as they went. But obviously, after he went down, we weren't the same team after that.
Do you have any surprises on the All Big 12 team? Are you surprised Wayne didn't make it?
No, I'm not surprised. You know, the way they do the league selections with the coaches, which is fine, is you know, you can't vote for your own guys. So the one thing I was really surprised at is not one of our players got a vote other than Perry. So I mean, we didn't have an honorable mention guy other than Perry made the first team. So, you know, that may be something that we tell our guys. But because we got plenty good enough players that you know, they could be at least receive some consideration, at least I think. You know, I haven't seen the polls. Have the polls come out yet?
Not yet.
So when do they come out, Chris?
Right before Big Cody either.
See, I don't understand that either. So we get the preseason all conference teams 2 weeks before media day, and the teams don't. I don't understand that, but certainly, you know, we may be picked to win it, we may not, but our league is going to be. I've seen several magazine things, and you know, some people have us in the top 5, others have Texas in the top 5. Some people have Iowa State in the top 10. No question about that. And of course, OU's well thought of. I saw Vital still had them as high as 19, I believe, and K-State was right around the top 25. So this year on paper, if last year was the best year the league's ever had, this year on paper it appears to be just as good. So it'll be tough to win in the league. Whoever wins it will deserve it.
You mentioned trying to take some guys out of their comfort zone last year. Do you feel you got out of your comfort zone at all?
In what way?
Coaching, maybe changing some styles?
Nah, probably not. Probably not. You know, but I don't think so. I think that if anything, last year, with the type of team we had, with the personnel that we had, the one thing I would tell you is I don't think we were as hard and as tough as what a Kansas team typically is. So we didn't do a good enough job as a staff of getting them that way. And that's something that you know, we may not play very well this year, but that'll be a point of emphasis with our staff each and every day to make sure that does not happen again. That doesn't mean that it won't happen, but we're going to definitely emphasize that it won't. So,
why was that?
I think personalities, young youth. I think there's a lot of reasons without going into much detail, but I don't think we were as tough and as hard as what our other teams have been. And I think we recruited some tough, hard kids now. So.
Got time for a couple more.
Any motivational words for the Royals?
I'm sure they're all listening. So Hosmer's thinking right now, I wonder what's going on at the KU basketball press conference. So no, I think those guys are doing great on their own. It's awfully cool to watch, and I'm a big fan. I don't go to near as many games as I should, but those are some. I mean, to me, it's so cool to see a bunch of young kids out there that are men that are having the time of their life. I mean, they're down, if I'm not mistaken, 8-7 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 12th, and they got a pinch runner in the game. Is that that's the fastest guy in baseball? Is that right? And he's dancing at third base, and he hasn't even scored yet. I mean, you just don't see that with other. I mean, to me, that's cool, and I think it's great. I think it's great. So, and I don't understand. This is something else, and not that I understand this, but basketball coaches obviously can be. Their work can be dissected a lot, but baseball is a lot easier to dissect it because there's strategy on every pitch. I mean, every pitch there's a strategy, and it blows my mind that in baseball, you could put up a poor hitter to pinch hit for a guy, and the opposing pitcher throws a bad ball over the plate, and he hits it to left for a single. The same pitcher throws a perfect pitch to your best hitter, and it strikes him out, and all of a sudden the manager's an idiot because you had the best. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's all about where the pitcher throws the ball, you know, and I don't think a manager can control that. That's on the other team. So I get such a kick out of it because there's so much strategy involved, and everybody thinks it's so easy. But I think that guy over there has done an unbelievable job, you know. And the other thing that amazes me is, you know, they have to manufacture runs because they don't have power hitters. Where everybody else, if you get two people on, you play for you know, a big inning or whatever, and we play every inning's playing to try to get one run. Isn't that right, Bob? For the most part, and so I think it's pretty cool. I think it's so cool to see what those guys have done because they're really good. They're really good.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much.